Hello, everybody. Welcome to Route 616. I am here with Bill
Hey,
and
how's it
Ryan.
going?
And Ryan.
Hello.
And today we're going to go in a very different direction. Um, what we're going to be doing is Bill and I are going to be explaining to Ryan why he's wrong
I feel like
about
this is going to be a
everything.
trend for the film
It is.
ones.
One of us
There's
will always be wrong.
there's always gonna be at least one of us around, yes.
Yeah. And occasionally there'll only be one of us right.
Exactly.
Right. And when it comes to my opinion, I'm always right. And they just
I'm going to call bullshit on that right now. You like Green Lantern.
I didn't say I
Yeah.
liked it. I just said I didn't hate it.
That's
That's still giving it far too much credit.
yeah.
Wow. And you see this is just going to go so well today. I can just see it happening already. Anyway,
So essentially
anyway.
what this is this is a discussion video. This is a bonus video about we're doing a bonus series, an offshoot of Route 616. We are called Crew 616 for this.
Yep. And we're just going to talk about movies and other topics that come up that are based on going back to the fact that all three of us have very different opinions about the same things. And in this case, we're going to start talking about the movie 30 Days of Night. And the general consensus was I will really, really like this movie. Bill,
Also, really like it.
Ryan.
It's fine.
Oh, fuck. Oh, ow. You're that 49%, aren't you?
It's if I was to round up my thoughts here, it would be I don't hate it, but I don't love it. So it's kind of like right in that sweet spot.
I guess the first big question is why didn't you like it?
Um, I thought there was some. I don't. I guess there was. I found there was moments in the plot that either they didn't capitalize on enough or didn't. I thought they could have been tackled with a different approach, like mainly the stranger when I say that, and then
Funny
I
you
found
say that because I really enjoyed their handling of the stranger.
I, you know
He
what?
was suitably creepy, and when I first saw it, I hadn't read the book yet, so I didn't know what was up with him.
I'm going to come down right on the fence on this because Ryan does have one point that I have to agree with. They didn't. There are certain moments that they didn't capitalize on. The only problem I had with this film was the fact that they didn't really illustrate the passage of the 30 days very well.
Yeah,
that
that
was
was
another thing
done
for me.
poorly.
I kind of got lost during, like, it was suddenly 30 days in the last act. I'm like, what happened here?
Yeah, and that I think was the only real issue I had with the film. Beyond that, I thought it was friggin' fantastic. It was nice to have a scary vampire movie.
Yeah,
I
I really liked their take on the vampires in it. They were much more intimidating than your average
Oh
vampire
God,
movie.
yes, they were. They really were. And Danny Houston as the head vampire was amazing. Just amazing.
He really was.
But I'm, I'll tell you why I liked it. Probably more than anything, what appealed to me was the fact that vampire movies stopped being scary. You know, in the 60s, the Hammer movies just they just pumped out so many that vampires just became boring. And then you had the 80s, 70s, 80s where suddenly vampirism was sexy.
Yeah.
And, you know, you were looking at movies like Anne Rice's, what was that? The
Are you talking about Interview with a Vampire?
Interview with a Vampire. Thank you.
Yeah. That was a great movie, but not exactly scary.
No, it wasn't scary. It was really just one woman's sexual fantasy played out on the screen.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I really, really struggled with it. I just, you know, the performances were good. The production values were amazing. But it wasn't a vampire film. And then we hit the Twilight era, and any concept of vampires being scary was gone. It was just gone.
Yeah.
And we're looking at films like Vampire Academy and Vampire U and, all this stuff. And it had gone from being something you wanted to watch because it scared the crap out of you to basically, the Harry Potters of the vampire films.
Yeah, even looking at the supposedly like more adult orientated, more male audience targeted vampire movies like the Blade films and stuff.
Yes.
They were just straight up action movies. The vampires in it weren't scary. They were just someone for Blade to chop up and give you that good action release rather than an actual horror performance.
Yeah, kind of like the Underworld movies.
Yeah, same thing.
It wasn't, being a vampire was no longer scary. I mean, girls were sitting there hoping Tom Cruise would sneak into the bedroom at night. I was hoping Kate Beckinsale would sneak into my bedroom at night. They weren't scary. And when I was growing up, vampires scared the shit out of me. You closed your window, you pulled the curtains, you stayed in the middle of the bed. You didn't get off the bed just in case, right? As a young boy, vampires were freaking terrifying. They just were. And then they stopped being scary. And then a movie like 30 Days a Night came out, and it put the fear back into, vampires existing. For me, at least.
I think I have. That's where I have more of a disconnect. I just don't have the soft spot for the vampire type of supernatural monster and villain and everything.
Part of that is probably that you grew up in the era when vampires were completely defanged and not a threat.
Yeah.
They were just something cute to stick in teen movies when you wanted to give it a hint of the supernatural without doing anything too weird.
Well, I've always avoided them because I grew up in the fucking Twilight era, so I never had the soft spot for them at all or anything. I've never experienced this was on the better side of vampires that I've witnessed, but I've not had plenty of vampire experiences. I did like how these vampires, I liked how intense they were, and the speed, that moment in the movie where the one woman's being dragged away from her husband who later turns.
Oh,
that was pretty. That was
such
one
a
of the
great
best.
scene.
That's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. That was actually the best that I've seen the vampires probably portrayed.
Yeah,
that was
when
really
he puts
good.
his claw on the album, right, and lets it scratches the album.
That was really good too.
It was just that. I think probably some of the more positive things about the film, and I'm going to wax poetic just for a minute here, was the fact that the vampires were much more feral than normal. They weren't some, your teenage heartthrob with perfect hair and, glittery skin. These vampires were nasty, disgusting, terrifying creatures with zero humanity. Just zero humanity. They were smart as people, but they didn't have our humanity. And I think all of us, at some point in our lives, have experienced a moment where we've had to deal with someone who just lacked that empathy and, come away from it shaken because it's like, how can a person like that exist? When you take it to the level of a vampire where they're not just cold, soulless creatures, but you are nothing to them. You are, simply a meal.
Sustenance.
And I think that it's the other thing that this film did that I loved was how they illustrated the complete savagery of what a vampire can be. And you probably both know the scene I'm talking about. And it's the flyover as the vampires commit the main attack on the town. And at the beginning of the film, you see some of the people who've decided to stay for the 30-day period of darkness. You see this little girl, and then they flash a scene where one of the vampires is just tearing this little girl to shreds, and it's horrifying. And as a parent, I have empathy. Somebody hurt my little girl, I'd just fucking lose it. But you see this, and you're completely helpless to do anything about it. It's right there in front of you, and it triggered me so freaking hard. And it was and it showed, again, probably the high point of the film was how vicious these creatures were. We were food. They played with their food a lot, right? You see that a lot of that as well.
A lot of it was like being in the prey of a cat. They'd toy with you.
Yeah, and they did. You saw it often in the film where they were toying with people, where they kept that one girl alive and then sent her into town to look for help. You know, and they were sort of ghosting her as she was walking down the street, you know, calling for someone to help her. And you know she's bait and nothing more. And it's
that was never one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, it was just everything about it. No, the basic concept, something I don't think personally has ever been done in a vampire film, where it takes place in the north, and there is literally a 30-day period where there is no sun, no sunrise. It is 30 straight days of night. So you're not sitting there going, I just need the last 3 hours until the sun comes up, because it's not coming up. You're there. There's no getting away from them. You know, where are you going to run to? There's nowhere to go. So you have to survive. And that, I think, was the other slight failing of the film, was they didn't really focus enough on their attempts to survive. They touch on it a couple of times, but they don't really focus on it. And it's like they're trying to survive for 30 days. And it's like, I don't know, just the whole concept, I loved it.
Yeah, and it's not like you can just leave either. That was the other thing.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go.
Your choice is to stay in town and probably die by vampire, or leave and probably die by the elements.
Yeah, because I've been up north. I worked up north when I was a teenager. And when the sun goes down, it gets cold. And it doesn't get warm again. You know, there's no sunrise coming up to warm you up. So, you know, if you walk out into the tundra, it's over. You know, in the unlikely event you manage to get away from the vampires, you're going to run into a polar bear or a wolf. You know, and they'll probably kill you too. So, yeah. Bill, your turn.
I mean, I don't have much to add on what you said. Most, like, those were the same things that made me really like it, like the savagery of the vampires and the fact that they had human level intelligence with no hint of humanity.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, because you see, like, those horror videos that come out of, like, slaughterhouses and stuff about people that just start, like, behaving cruelly to the animals and so.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, except we're the animals.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess, in a lot of ways, it was the antithesis of movies like, I don't know, Lesbian Vampire Killers, which is a brilliant comedy. I loved it. But it's not scary. It's just silly. But, I mean, there's been some really, really good vampire movies. There's been a whole ton of bad ones.
Yeah.
And this was one of the good ones.
Leading up to it, probably the best portrayal of vampires that I was getting on TV or movies was Buffy. And that was still where they were mostly a joke, but they were the closest to an actual monster instead of just a dashing man who happened to drink blood as a weird little quirk that made him more dangerous and romantic.
Yeah, until, you know, who was it, Spike? Buffy fell in love with Spike or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, which didn't help.
No, it really didn't, but, like, there wasn't the truly horrific vampire that you'd get in, like, written vampire fiction.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's been a number of vampire novels that I've read over the years that I loved. Barbara Hambly wrote a novel called Those Who Hunt the Night, which was excellent. But it is an excellent book, but it's still a bit of a cross with Masquerade, where the vampires aren't all as scary as they could be. You know, so, but, and you know, having talked about that, the other vampire movie I've seen in the last 20 years that I really liked was Let the Right One In. I don't know if either of you have seen it. but it's amazing.
I've heard really good stuff about it, but never seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely worth watching. If you don't mind subtitles, track this down, watch it. It's worth every second. But I mean, I'm looking here at a list of some of the vampire films that have come out in the last decade, 2 decades, and there's just not a lot of stuff here that's particularly scary. The Forsaken, The Night Watchman, Priest, Only Lovers Left Alive, Night Teeth. Yeah, it's just most of them are not scary. The Twilight movies, the Underworld movies, Van Helsing. I don't want to pick on What We Do in the Shadows because that's a brilliant little exercise in independent filmmaking, but
Still not scary.
the vampires became a joke, and
They did. I mean, for God's sakes, we got Leslie Nielsen playing a vampire.
oh god, dead and loving it, yes. And I think, as much as anything, watching the film when I first watched it, I watched it alone at night, and there were moments that really made me squirm. It was like, damn, this is good.
Yeah.
Now, Ryan.
So this is where things become interesting.
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
Well, so we touched on a couple of my issues already. I guess to go more in on what I didn't love with, I thought The Stranger was one of the more interesting parts about this film for the first however long, like a lot of the first half.
Yeah.
And then they do like they do like a couple fake outs of whether Eben will kill him or whether the vampire is going to kill him, and then the vampires literally just after they've already killed the majority of the humans, they just go and kill him.
Yeah.
I don't know, that just felt like a letdown to me. I thought his role would have been more, or there would have been more to it.
And that's
at the
one
end
of
of
the
it.
things I liked, because it really showed that the vampires don't respect any human.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter if you're good or helping them or not. At the end of the day, you're just food.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's being a familiar for a vampire, and you see it even in the Blade films, where there are people who are planning to become a vampire at some point, so that's why they're helping out. Right, in this case, the Stranger was basically Renfield, who was helping the vampire get to where he needed to be to keep him safe. And I think it was Salem's Lot, where James Mason plays the Renfield character and sets up the house and everything for the Nosferatu. And Salem's Lot, the book is actually fairly scary. It's really well done. The movie didn't quite do it. They kind of missed out because it was a low-budget movie. But I think The Stranger served its purpose, and there was a bit of an emotional impact at the betrayal.
Yeah, I mean, I guess part of my thing was I understand what his purpose was. He brought the vampires. He found this place for the vampires to thrive in. It's 30 days of night. Mm-hmm. They can just live. That's what they're going for. But I don't know if everybody watching this movie is gonna fully pick up what they're trying to put down with that, with how it was executed. But that might just be what I'm.
Yeah. Well, there's. I don't actually know how to respond to that, because I think if you kept following the story in the graphic novels, there is an entire vampire subculture out there. They exist in amongst us. We just don't see them. We don't know they're there because they're extremely smart about picking their targets. And this was just kind of a ravenous blood feast that they went on this one time.
Yeah, and even there, it's a well planned out blood feast because their plan at the end is to rupture the pipe
Yeah, burn down
for the
the
oil
town.
and burn the town to the ground. So it looks like just when communications was out because of the winter, there was this horrible
Accident.
tragic accident, and the entire town got wiped out. And it's completely plausible because you look at what happened in Lake Lac-Mégantic, for example, and you basically had an entire town wiped out by an oil disaster.
Yeah. You can wipe out a town with a molasses landslide. That's happened in real life. So it was plausible that this was their vampire festival, where they just go to town on a whole town. Pardon the bad grammar.
Well, not in the not in the defanged vampire way. They're just feasting. You guys kind of just touched on another one of my issues. There is that throughout the whole thing, I was like, "What's their plan to get away with this?" And then they don't reveal like anything until right at the very end. And then they go into they're gonna burn the friggin' town down and make it look like it was just one big accident. I'm like, okay, well, I guess there's my answer then.
I just you know what? When I was watching it, I guess part of me just assumed they did have a plan. Because this wouldn't have been the first time, they'd done this.
No.
These weren't brand new vampires, so this was a plan.
I assumed they had a plan, but I wanted to know what the plan was.
And I mean, let's be honest. Even if they had no cover-up and their plan was just to disappear back into the Arctic onto their ship.
Yeah.
When the town opened back up and people came in and saw that, realistically, who is going to save vampires?
Well, that's the point, right? Because nobody believes in them.
Yeah. So they could have just
age.
left the town as the result of the attack, and people would spend the next 20 years looking for a feral polar bear.
Yep, or a feral wolf pack.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And that is something...
Well, I think didn't somebody even have a line about that at some point? Didn't somebody say, like, I thought, or I just misremembering here. Thought there was a line about wolves, like they might think it's wolves or polar bears or something.
I don't remember the line, but I completely believe that the line exists.
Yeah, same here.
Because it's what people would think if they came upon that.
Well, that's kind of just... I think that's why I kind of wanted more clarity, like, because they probably could have just gotten away with not doing the burn of the town, so I don't know. But I don't know. There was a bit of disconnect there for me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah, I love the sense of isolation, the sense of desperation, the sense of helplessness. These people are no match for them. They know they're no match for them. And you do see people fighting back, like, I can't remember the truck driver's name, but the guy with the plow.
The guy from Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, who runs a bunch of them down. Like everybody, our own humanity really comes out in this film where, the guy's keeping his father with him in the attic, even though his father's half crazy and is probably going to give them all away. They still try and save this guy. They don't just leave him to the vampires. He's somebody's father. They have to try. And, all the petty bullshit kind of gets put aside as these people try and survive the whole situation. And I really like that. I liked how frail it made us look if we stand alone.
Yeah, Bo was the guy with the gun and everything and all that.
Yeah.
I think Billy's the one that killed his family, right? I think.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, you're right. Billy's the
one who kills
deputy.
his family. Yeah. And just a side note, most of the supporting cast was from New Zealand, because the film was actually partially filmed in New Zealand. So Manu, who plays Billy, is a very well-known New Zealand actor, who's one of many. But most of the supporting cast was, not even local. This wasn't a Hollywood film in that sense. And it was nice to have people on screen where it wasn't just a certain Hollywood character actor playing yet another role. You didn't know any of these people.
Yeah, the only one who was really known was Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, right. Because even Melissa George at that point wasn't that well known.
Yeah. Well, on the topic of the cast, I do want to shout out both Hartnett and George for. I thought they were both great in the two main protagonist roles here.
Yeah, they were good.
I thought Eben was great, and I thought Stella was quite good too. I thought they were pretty good in the protagonist role here.
Yeah, it's interestingly enough, there was a bit of blowback over Josh Hartnett being in this film, and I thought he did a fantastic job. He's really well suited to it, but he was there. There were a lot of people complained about it being him, because up to this point he'd been playing teenage heartthrobs in movies like The Faculty and so on and so forth. But I thought it was great.
I thought that actually worked for it because it didn't make Eben seem like a badass who was equipped to handle this.
Exactly.
Well, on that topic, he literally has fits of asthma through this.
Yeah. And his only saving grace is the fact that he is physically bigger and stronger than most of the people around him. So he doesn't need to use his gun. He's just such a big guy that people are going to listen to him. He says, you need to, get your shit together. You're going to go, okay, yeah, you're bigger than me. I'll listen to you.
Yeah, he's perfect because he can intimidate them in that sense, but he's also so nice that you can't really get mad at him.
That's right. And I thought it was heartbreaking when his mother gets killed, right, at the police station. That was, that was upsetting. Right?
Yeah, that was...
Yeah, but...
He also has the brother Jake there. I thought it was pretty obvious throughout that one of the brothers wasn't going to make it alive. And that definitely becomes the case.
Yeah, but it's the one you expect to live that does.
It is the one that you would expect to live more that dies, which is, I guess, a good take, though I didn't really care if Jake lived or died.
Yeah, he's kind of a throwaway character.
He's kind of just there, even though he's hypothetically really important to this whole thing.
Yeah.
But he's kind of just there.
Yeah, I was so happy when this film came out because it was just finally a kickback to the older vampire movies. Something that might actually be halfway scary. Something, horror movies don't have anymore. You can go and watch all the Saw movies and they're creepy, but they're more, gore fests and jump scares than they are actual scary films.
Yeah, there's very few horror movies that they do nowadays that actually have like a scary antagonist.
Yeah.
And scary in a sense other than just they'll fuck you up if they get you.
Yeah.
But like ultimately they're just a person with whatever the gimmick for murder in that particular film is.
Yeah. I mean, you see it in Saw, Friday the 13th, Cabin
and the ones
Fever.
That try to use something supernatural, well, they tend to be presented more as action movies nowadays where there's just a whole bunch of the monster and you fight with it and blow them up instead of like something actually scary that's following you.
Yeah.
When this movie came out, for a little bit of fun fact, when this movie came out, I would have just turned 8 10 days earlier.
Ooh. Wow.
So that's I definitely didn't watch this when it came out. This is my first time watching for this podcast. So that was...
If you had, you'd probably have a more favorable opinion of the movie.
Probably.
Yeah, I'm looking at a review here. I'm going to call this guy out because he's willing to put his name on the review. Maddie Lucas from The Front Row said, "A sadly missed opportunity, a waste of talent on senseless dreck that made even the always welcome Danny Houston as the vampire leader look silly." I'm wondering what movie he was watching.
Maybe he accidentally watched Dark Days.
Oh, he might have. Except Danny Houston isn't in Dark Days.
Yeah, I know, but he probably just looked at the cast list.
Because I can't disagree more. Even if you don't like the film, I don't see how you call it a waste of talent. I just don't. It's the first time in a while somebody's tried to make a scary vampire movie and you're going to crap all over it? Please. It's not fair.
I imagine it suffered a bit in the sense that it was the first time someone tried to do that for a while.
Yeah.
And there's a percentage of the movie-going audience that if a movie doesn't conform to what they're expecting going in, just immediately decides it's crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Because somebody else here, the Metro Times in Detroit review said its assault on Precinct 13 meets the thing, with vampires as the baddies. And can we count the ways director John Carpenter has influenced genre films today? And he's absolutely right.
Yes. But I mean, like, given that the only, like, adult-orientated vampire movies that were getting made were action-based at the time,
Yeah.
I'm sure there were a number of people that were pissed off that Josh Hartnett didn't bust out a pair of silver knuckle dusters and start punching the fuck out of vampires.
Yeah, that's fair too. Because it just, I don't know. I really struggled with the fact that this movie did not get a good reception.
On that topic, to get some reference to the reception this movie got, IMDb gave this a 6.6 out of 10, which actually isn't that bad. That's actually pretty decent. We got a 51% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 53 out of 100 for Metacritic.
Yeah.
So IMDb rating, honestly, is probably right where it should be sitting, because it's a good movie, but it is low budget, and it's going to have the flaws that a low budget movie has.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's not going to ever rate
Yeah, you
up there with the top Hollywood films.
I was going to say, quite honestly, if I was rating this out of 10, IMDb is pretty close to my score.
Yeah.
So I would probably be at like 6 to 6.5 tops.
I'd be 7 to 7.5 myself.
Yeah, I'd probably put it about 7, but I can see a 6.6. That
Yeah,
seems
I'd probably
reasonable.
go 6.
Yeah,
A little lower.
I think the faults in the script, not the setting or the performance, but the faults in the actual flow of the script were, indicative of the fact that it got rewritten a number of times before it was finally filmed. So, each writer was losing track of what as they went along, was losing more and more track of what they were trying to do.
That's probably why they didn't have the concrete passage of time, because different writers were trying to patch things together.
Yeah, and that was, I think, its only real fault, in my mind. You've got a movie, it's called 30 Days of Night. It's based on people trying to survive for 30 days in absolute darkness. And it's, they don't really relay the sense of time passing. I mean, if you watch Pitch Black, they relay, the absolute darkness. And that was one thing Pitch Black did really well, was relay just how black it can get and how scary it can get. And they didn't really relay that passage of time.
That's
things like that.
another nitpick I have with this film. Because they wanted to get the, involved action elements of it, like the vampire attack on the town with the drone shot and stuff.
Yeah.
They had to brighten it
Oh, yes, with the street
quite
lights.
a bit to make it watchable.
Yeah.
And that took a lot of the fear element of being trapped in near pitch blackness.
Yes.
I mean, your eyes would adjust to that point, but if they really wanted to convey the fear, they should have filmed it more like the pitch black, claustrophobic, closed-in elements.
Yeah,
like The Descent, for example, where even though you can't see the walls of the caves a lot, you still feel closed in because it's just so fucking dark.
Yeah, and it is claustrophobic. Yeah, The Descent's another excellent horror film.
That we might cover someday on here.
Yeah, but you are right. I think they would have, as much as the sort of the main assault on the town is an overwhelming filming achievement just for the way they did it. I thought it was fantastic. The execution of the film in that regard, it would have been better if it just been, individuals running in the dark and not knowing what was, on the other side of the, the darkness. And you could be running through a pack of them and never know. They could just be standing there watching you as you run. And it's like, what do you do? Because when the vampires first attack the guy at the satellite uplink station, he comes out and suddenly they're all standing around him out of nowhere. And it's like, what? What are you people doing? Who are you? How'd you get here?
Yeah. Or when they were under the house.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They grabbed the guy's wife and yanked her out of the house.
Yeah.
And then he goes out to look, and she just gets yanked under into the darkness. And then he gets grabbed and drug in there. And you never see the vampires.
That's right. Kind of like the attack at the station, the power station, of the two guys and the girl. And this one guy just gets grabbed and, boom. But I don't know. I don't want to drag this out too much, but I was just overall, I thought it was a really positive experience to watch the movie. It's unlike most of what I've seen over the last 20 years. I came away from the theater going, damn, I'm really glad I went to see this. I don't say that often anymore. I just don't. Movies come out and I come away from the theater going, why did I waste my money? But not with this one. This one I really, really liked. I liked the concept. I liked the fact that it was based on the graphic novel. I went and bought the graphic novel right afterwards.
So did I.
I'm the only one here that hasn't read the graphic novel.
Yeah, but we expect that from you, Ryan. You're young. Just, Bill and I kind of drag you along in the hopes that one day you'll grow up, you'll learn. We keep force feeding you, good stuff. You'll figure it out. Come on.
I'm gonna make you watch Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, I've already watched it.
I'm gonna make you watch it again.
Oh, please don't do that. Jesus Christ. I thought we were friends. I did. Oh, or we could start. You just wait. At some point in time, one of the things we'll be talking about is Star Wars. And
I'm gonna fry.
Wankers are gonna get fried. Oh my God. It's gonna be flame on, bitches.
I'm gonna thrive during the Star Wars episodes we eventually do.
I'm gonna Johnny torch your asses so hard. I am. Oh God, Star Wars. Anyway, I mean, I really think out of all the vampire films that have come out in the last 20 years, this was one of the better ones. Just one of the best.
I can't off the top of my head think of a better vampire film in the last 20 years.
I mean, I haven't watched any, so...
It's difficult to say this because I wouldn't say that what I'm going to suggest isn't better, it's just different, is Let the Right One In. It is also...
Yeah, and I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
So.
And I couldn't recommend it highly enough. If you can find a subtitle or a dubbed version to watch, it's so good. And the other film is Byzantium, 2012. Also an excellent vampire film. But, again, a different story, different idea, different concept. All right, Byzantium is a whole different animal. But...
I've seen previews for that one and never realized it was a vampire movie.
Exactly. and that's kind of the point. In order to watch it, and when you do figure it out, when you do figure out what's going on with this girl and her mother, it becomes very compelling. It takes vampires from a completely different angle. Because, as any vampire fan will tell you, one of the great mythologies of vampires is that the caves in Paris are where vampires live, and vampires congregate in two specific places, Paris and Byzantium. In this case, Istanbul, and they live in the underground catacombs in these two cities, and this is where they congregate, where they meet, where the head vampires live. And Byzantium, well, it doesn't really go too much into depth over the origin of vampires or anything. It's still really good. Whatever you do, don't watch Dracula Untold. What a heartbreak that was.
Yeah, no, that's not good.
I had my hopes up, and it was just... Oh.
I kind of expected it because there have been so many attempts to do Dracula movies that haven't been good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like Dracula 2000, that was everything you would expect from a movie featuring 2000 in the name.
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't mind Dracula 2000. It was kind of a nouveau 90s film, but it wasn't horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it wasn't a good Dracula film.
No, it wasn't great. I mean, casting Gerard Butler as the vampire, okay, whatever you say, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it could have been. I enjoyed it for what it was, but my expectations were pretty low going into it. It was kind of like Underworld. My expectations were really low going into it. So
we could watch the Universal Monster Shared Universe.
Oh God,
that they tried recently.
Oh, that's the one with.
Let's watch that Mummy movie and then the rest.
No. That movie does not actually exist. It was just some kind of. I figure I somehow accidentally got into a lot of coke that night, and I had this really weird dream. Shush! I drink Pepsi normally, and I just had a really bad dream. And somehow, in my dream, Tom Cruise made some kind of stupid mummy movie. It's not real. It's not real. It doesn't actually exist.
Oh look, that's in the same. I thought that was in the same with Dracula Untold. That's how you got me there.
Yeah. Tom Cruise's mummy movie is hands down one of the stupidest films I've ever seen. Oh my God! It makes Plan 9 look watchable.
At least Invisible Man is supposed to be good.
I
don't know if that's directly connected though, but
I don't think that was actually part of it.
probably not because it was actually good.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Actually, yeah, the Invisible Man is part of the old Universal universe.
Yeah, I just don't know if it was connected to
but I don't think it got tied into their reboot.
to the new universe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
what I was
right.
getting
They
at.
did an Invisible Man movie, and it was good, and people liked it, and that's what gave them the idea, I think. So it might have been retconned in, kind of like the Incredible Hulk, but it was never intended to be part of this.
Yeah, because they were working with so much, and they just, oh my God, if there was something wrong, they chose to do it the wrong way. Just every time they had a choice, they chose the wrong thing in this movie. And it got to a point where halfway through the movie, I mean, when you can sit there and say the best thing about the film is Annabelle Wallis, you know it's a crap movie. Because she's not exactly an Oscar winner. Right? But just, wow. Just wow. I don't know. Oh my God.
We got a little off topic.
We did, but I mean,
welcome to the series.
yeah, welcome to the series of
just as
crap.
well we got off topic now, because now we won't have to actually watch those abominations.
That's right. Oh no, we are never. The only reason we would ever talk about Tom Cruise's Mummy movie is if all three of us are feeling particularly mean and pissed off about the day, all at the same time. Then we go online and we rip this piece of crap into its component parts.
Oh, I've never seen it because I knew it was going to be crap.
Oh,
Yeah, I haven't
my
watched it
God.
either. I've just watched the
It's
Weekly
just a way
Planets
to get
review
me
on it.
riled up.
It's
essentially.
Aliens 4 level of bad. Actually, Aliens 4 is better.
I was just going to say, I've seen the preview and I already know Aliens 4 is better.
Yeah. I mean, there are great horror or vampire movies that I would recommend to people. Near Dark in '87. Excellent vampire movie. One of the few good scary movies to come out of the '80s. uh, Only Lovers Left Alive, another great vampire movie. Yeah. Jeez. Byzantium, obviously. John Carpenter's Vampires, made in '98, is not that horrible. It's
I enjoyed it.
yeah, it's kind of stylistic and very Midwest.
It's not deep cinema, but it's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's not as good as Near Dark, although the two of them are fairly similar in most ways. Near Dark has the benefit of having a lot of the same cast as the Aliens movie, like the second Alien movie. So, you have some really good actors, B-level actors who come in and make this movie worth it. Although Ryan wouldn't want it because it's got Bill Paxton in it. So.
I'm not saying I hate Bill Paxton.
You wanker, that's exactly what you're saying.
I just
It certainly sounded like you hate Bill Paxton.
His role in Predator 2 didn't help the movie.
Oh, well, it actually, his role in Predator 2 gave Brad Pitt something to fall back on for an example when he was doing Seven. Same plot line, different bad guy. Just throwing that out there, guys. Now Bill is slowly boiling over.
You just transitioned into what was pretty much an inside joke.
Like we haven't already been on an inside joke going after you for Bill Paxton.
Yeah, it's true.
You just went ultra. You just referenced a conversation about Seven yesterday.
If we were going to post this with the actual recording, I was going to leave the studio when he said that. It wouldn't come across.
Oh, speaking of which, have either of you seen Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter?
I looked through the movies on Disney Plus, and that's on there, and I brought that up one time, and I know Bill had comments on it.
It's fine.
It's fun. It's silly.
Yeah, it's silly and it's kind of fun, but nothing really to it.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, it's nice little.
It's exactly what you expect from the name.
Yeah, it's an hour and a half of mindless entertainment.
I mean, I literally remember seeing previews for that on friggin' television when it was coming out. So
yeah,
I was just trying to watch wrestling, and they showed me some trailers for Abraham Lincoln, a Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, I kind of look at Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer the same way I look at From Dusk Till Dawn. It's incredibly niche and very kind of the style of the time, and they had a lot of fun with it, but there's no actual real reason for it to exist. And
It exists for exactly the sort of person that would look for a movie called Abraham Lincoln Vampire.
Yeah. Yeah, when they did, when Frank Langella did Dracula in 1992, I thought it was incredible. I did. I freaking loved Langella's, but that was based on the book, Bram Stoker's novel, and it was a really good vampire movie. But again, there's not a lot of them out there anymore. You're just getting a scary vampire movie? Forget it. 30 Days a Night was the last
are
one.
heading the same way. It feels like no one can do a scary werewolf movie anymore.
No, they can't. And that's something that actually genuinely, seriously bothers me. Because the Emily Blunt werewolf movie, The Wolfman, I believe it's just basically called The Wolfman.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
Yeah, it could have been so good. Yeah, The Wolfman, 2010. Could have been so good, but bad casting, some really bad script decisions turned it from potentially a fantastic film just into this piece of crap. It's just, oh my God, it was so bad. And I went to that movie really hoping it was going to be as good as it looked.
Same here.
But, I mean, they did that, like Hollywood. When you sit back and you look at horror films and you're thinking Tucker and Dale's a good choice, and don't get me wrong, I love Tucker and Dale. I think it's a fantastic film. But when it's one of the best horror movies out there,
Yeah, because it's not even supposed to be a horror movie.
No, it's basically social commentary. And a comedy at that.
Like I say, the best horror movie I think I've seen is Silence of the Lambs, which is also not supposed to be a horror movie.
Exactly. Silence of the Lambs, if it just makes your skin crawl.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, you need to go see a therapist. Because it should tweak everything about who you are as a person. You know,
I was just.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because I'm going to change the topic so you can finish your film.
Okay, yeah. But, you know, when they redid the Mummy movies with Brendan Fraser, the first Mummy movie, it was hilarious. It was fun. It was silly.
Those Brendan Fraser mummy movies were great.
It was everything you could have wanted from a movie, but they didn't take themselves particularly seriously.
Yeah, no, they weren't like a serious horror movie.
No.
But they were fun.
They were a blast and a half. But I like to say, as a serious horror fan, because I consider myself to be a genuine serious horror fan. I've watched all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre films, Serpent in the
I'm
Rainbow.
sorry.
Oh,
There was one good one.
yeah, you're right. But I'm what? But I mean, I've watched horror films my whole life. And I mean, I've gone through all the Wrong Turn movies. Yeah,
Oh, you poor soul.
I know the Hitcher movie. Oh, the Hitcher. That's a good movie. The original. But I mean, at Last House on the Left, The Lazarus Effect, The Messengers, The Mist. Even the
Oh,
disappointment.
The Mist is good for just a gut punch of a movie.
Oh, it is a gut punch. The Disappointments Room. I mean, there are some great films out there that are worth watching. But before 30 Days a Night, the last really scary film I saw was The Changeling in 1980. I saw that in theaters. And, excuse me, sorry. But I saw that in theater. And it was the last time I was in a theater where the film was scary enough that it made people scream. There were people literally jumped in their seats, screamed, and left the friggin' theater. They couldn't take it. And there's almost no blood in the entire film. There's like a little smattering of blood on a guy's head after a car accident, and that's it. The film has almost no jump scares, anything like that. It's just pure horror. And I'm hoping against hope that someday they'll remake it. I mean, they've remade so many other movies, and The Changeling still is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. I still struggle to sit through it. If I watch it at night alone, I turn the lights on. Just saying. In case anybody out there wants to watch a really good, genuinely scary film, watch The Changeling, 1980. It's scary. Now,
I'll have to check that out.
yeah, and scary in a good way, not scary as in like the Fantastic Four movies. As in I'm scared that they might make more of them.
That is a pretty scary prospect.
Yeah.
Especially the ones with four in the middle. Fantastic or whatever it was.
Then stick.
Now here's an unpopular opinion that I know is going to breed a conversation somewhere down the road. I did not mind the last Fantastic Four movie.
Oh my god.
I did not mind it.
Oh my god.
I know it's not that
I'm
good.
about to take my fucking headset off.
Seriously, it's not that bad.
It's one of the most fucking boring superhero movies
I was
I've
just
ever
gonna
watched
say,
in my
to call
goddamn
it
life.
bad would imply that something happened in it that was worthy of discussion.
I turned it off. I turned it off before the last 20 minutes, and the last 20 minutes is the best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I had 20 minutes left of the movie and turned it off, and that's the best part, because that's where we see the fucking thing punching shit.
I managed to finish it, but it wasn't good. I was bored.
It's one of the few movies I've turned off. When I start something, I finish it. Green Lantern, Van Stick, and a few others are the only ones I've turned off. I think the Hulk movies are in there too. But.
The only movie I've not yet made it through is The Rise of Skywalker. I cannot sit through it. It is so bad. It's just, oh my God, that is the one film for me. It's so bad I can't get through it. I have tried five times.
Yeah, mine's Rise of Skywalker and Anger Management with Will Ferrell.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I walked out of that in the theater because every single good moment was in the preview.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
The topic I was going to go into before is you guys were talking about how that werewolf or the Wolfman came out in 2010 or whatever. So I searched up movies in 2010 to see what I would have been watching that year.
Yeah.
I was watching Tangled from Disney.
Ooh, fun movie.
Iron Man 2 I didn't watch until later on, so I can't include that here.
Okay.
Grown Ups, a comedy.
Oh my God.
I hated that one.
Oh my God, an Adam Sandler film. Keep on going.
How to Train Your Dragon, which I hate.
That was cute.
I don't like that movie.
That was cute.
That was a good movie.
Yeah,
I don't like How to Train Your Dragon.
But we know you don't have taste.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We
thank
expect
you.
you not to like good movies, right?
Megamind, which I love.
Oh, that was a great one.
Okay.
Where are we now? The next one I've seen, I technically went to see Alice in Wonderland, but I didn't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
The Johnny Depp one?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that movie was awful.
Oh, Percy Jackson. I didn't even see that on the list earlier. I watched the Percy Jackson one. That was decent.
That wasn't bad. That wasn't bad.
I forgot about Karate Kid too. Certainly seen that.
Oh God.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Yeah.
First one's pretty good. Tron I technically went to but didn't pay attention to either. And then Shrek Forever After.
Wow. And
that's only like
ladies and
quarter
gentlemen,
of the list, maybe.
Yeah, ladies and
A
gentlemen.
fifth?
Now you know why we bring Ryan into these conversations, so we have somebody to pick on.
Some of them were good. Again, I would have been 10 or 11 for it this year. So
Yeah. Oh, I enjoyed Tangled. I thought it was funny.
oh, Tangled's probably one of the better ones I just listed.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny. Megamind was fun.
I'm sure if I
really
watched.
enjoyed Megamind.
I loved Grown Ups at the time, but I was a kid. I'm sure I'd hate it now.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's terrible.
It's
I
Adam
mean-
Sandler.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, I used to like Adam Sandler, so that goes to show something.
Well, Adam Sandler at one point was kind of funny.
Yeah, he had like 2-3 good movies, and then he just started putting out absolute dreck.
Yeah.
I still love the one that it's what
Happy Gilmore.
what is that one called? No, I'm gonna search it.
The Wedding Singer.
No. He has one movie that is I still really enjoy, and it's not one of this big ones. So it's probably a controversial take. Where are we here? Oh, That's My Boy. There we go. That's the one.
I don't know that movie.
I
know
love
that
it.
movie.
I think Bill and I have different standings on the topic.
It makes Johnny Knoxville's bad grandpa look good.
Wow. That's terrifying.
Now that I'm looking at it, it has a 5.5 on IMDb and a 20% Rotten Tomatoes. Maybe I'm in the wrong.
Yes, you are in the wrong. It is awful.
We should cover it.
Wow.
Fuck you, no.
No, and the point behind this whole thing in my head was to sit down and talk about these movies and, sometimes try and find something good about them. Like, we're not trying to tell anybody not to watch a film. I don't want anybody thinking that we're
We're not
wanna
here to
just-
persuade anybody.
we're not trying to
I don't want
influence
to do
anyone.
an episode where we just bash a movie that we all hated.
Yeah, I don't want to influence anyone, in that regard. If you want to go see a movie, go see it. Make up your own mind. But for us, we're all, to one extent or another, sort of hardcore pop culture dorks. When it comes to comics, films, video games, board games, role-playing games, all that stuff. We all have, a lot of experience. And two of us have taste. Not mentioning any names, Ryan. But, there are so many films out there that are that galvanize people that either loved it or hated it, and they fight over it. And It's like people fighting over what's his face's version of Halloween.
Oh,
Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Rob Zombie. Yeah, I had those on my list.
Yeah,
The objectively wrong version.
yeah. But I mean, it galvanizes people, and that's
I like those movies.
yeah, and it's something.
Of course you do.
Of course you do, Ryan. We expect it no less from you.
To be fair, the first one's better than the second.
Sure.
Actually,
Sure, you keep thinking that.
I don't.
Just
that
ignore
might
him,
be
Bill. He
wrong.
might go away.
I mean, they're not the worst
No.
slasher films out there.
No, they're not the worst.
They're not even the worst Halloween movies.
Oh,
Also true.
yeah. Okay. Well, bear in mind,
There was the new Halloween movie that just came out.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that one yet, but I'd like to.
Oh.
It doesn't have Michael Myers in it. It has
I
someone
was-
they called Michael Myers, but he doesn't act like Michael Myers.
I was thinking of the ones before they went into H2O.
It might
And then
actually
the one
be
after H2O.
Yeah. It might actually be the same person that plays Leatherface in the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre
Oh,
movie.
yes,
that's
that's
also
right.
not actually Leatherface.
That's right. That's right. But I mean, there are movies that galvanize people. Like, if you sit down and you bring up Friday the 13th with people, you get some interesting reactions. You really, really do. There are people who love the series, there are people who hate the series. It's like Final Destination. There's people who love it, people who hate it. But, I mean, if we're going to talk about a movie like we did here with 30 Days a Night,
At one point.
at one point we were talking about it, and there were some really positive things about the film, and even though Ryan wasn't that big a fan of it, I think he's still
Turns out they were closer to our opinion of it than we thought going into this.
yeah.
I think it boils down to how we express our ratings more than anything, because we're only like a point and a half difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put mine closer to the 6, and so sometimes it's more like a full point away, but still.
Yep. So in the end, ratings-wise, out of 10, Ryan, you said 6.6?
I'm
No,
I'm going to
6.6 was
6.
IMDb.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's IMDb.
So out of
I
10.
said 6 to 6.5, so I'm gonna stick with 6 because
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Bill?
7.
Okay, I'd say 7.5. But there's a great deal of nostalgia going into that rating for me.
Yeah, and I was trying to take the nostalgia out. If I was rating it on nostalgia, I'd give it more like an 8, 8.5, because
that's more what I was
it
expecting
hit
from you.
like the right point at that time. But judging it as a movie in a vacuum without, just being happy that there's a good vampire movie,
Yeah.
it's a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Like I say, I come solidly down on 7.5 for 30 Days a Night. I just do.
That's all right. We're gonna have there'll be there's gonna be times we're gonna have way different opinions on ratings than we do right now. So.
Read that as.
I feel like that'll happen when we cover Brightburn.
I feel as soon as possibly next episode.
Yeah. Okay. The gauntlet has been thrown.
I think that kind of means we kind of have to do Brightburn next.
I may have been thinking about that when I said it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do Brightburn
I think
next.
that just made it official.
Yep. We'll do Brightburn next. And
I want to do it while I'm still annoyed by the directorial decisions they made in that movie, but I'm not going to go into it now because we have another episode for that.
yeah, we got a whole. That's a whole different conversation,
Yeah.
right? But I'm glad we had this conversation. It was good.
Yeah.
Me
It
too.
was a
This
good
is
one.
fun. We will be back for more of these for sure. We're gonna at least do them once a month. Sometimes there might be a second one in the month, but we'll see how it goes. It's just gonna be kind of when it happens. I guess the next episode we pretty much just made official is gonna be on Brightburn, so stay tuned for that. That should be a fun convo.
Yeah.
I'm the only one that hasn't watched it yet. So
I'm
I
actually interested on where you fall on it because I can see like 50-50 you going
I could
towards
go on
really
either way.
liking it or really being disappointed by it.
I could really fall either way on that one because
Yeah.
I've already seen reviews and seen a lot of it. So I also have some context for what happens in it and how they could have gone better, so I could fall either way when I watch it.
Yeah. Anyway, so anybody listening to this podcast, whatever you do, don't tune in assuming we're going to be talking about M. Night Shyamalan's films. It's never going to happen. We're never going to talk about them.
No discussion of how disappointing The Village turned out to be.
The Village, how about Old? Or
Oh, see, I
Signs?
heard Old was shit, so I avoided it.
Or Devil. Yeah.
Yeah, these were all awful.
Oh, they were horrible.
Or Glass.
The only one that had any redeeming qualities in my mind was Lady in the Water.
Sixth Sense was good.
No, it wasn't. It was crap. It was fucking crap. It
There's
was
an episode.
absolute unmitigated crap. It was a stupid movie.
Oh, that was a trigger.
Really, you think?
What did Six Sense ever do to you?
Now
Yeah.
show us in the doll where Sixth Sense touched you, Dan.
Ooh, cinema hot dogs.
Oh no, it touched you on the cinema hot dog.
Yep, and absolutely no Doug McClure. So join us for next podcast with no Doug McClure, and we will talk about Brightburn. Yay!
Yes. That should be fun.
Oh.
We'll see you all next time.
Have a good one.
See you later, guys.